From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. If you look at your calendar or your weather app, you'll notice that we are still firmly in the dog days of summer. You should be spending weekends at the pool or maybe sitting in the shade with a cold beverage. But if you look at your local aspen trees, you might be fooled into thinking it's time for jack-o'-lanterns and pumpkin spice lattes. And it's not even Labor Day. Colorado's aspens are starting to show their fall colors alarmingly early, despite the summer heat. So what gives? Turns out it's a combination of chemistry and climate science. To unpack the reasons it's happening, we spoke with John Murgel, a horticulture specialist with Colorado State University Extension. He started by explaining why aspen leaves typically change color once the days start to grow shorter.
As the tree prepares for winter dormancy, it starts to mobilize as many of the nutrients that it has in its leaves to store them away for next year as it can. And a lot of that is bound up in chlorophyll, which the plant uses through the growing season to manufacture food using light energy from the sun.
Sure.
Typically triggered by shortening days, plants start to prepare for winter by entering dormancy. And a major component of that is breaking down all that photosynthetic machinery and putting it into storage, as it were. And as that happens, the green pigment breaks down. We start to see some of the secondary pigments that are often yellow. And then some plants will even start producing some more protective pigments, some sunscreen pigments you can think of. They can be red or orange to help keep the plant from being sunburned as it's recovering those resources.
So some parts of Colorado's high country are seeing the aspen leaves change already, weeks earlier than normal. It's also happening in some neighborhoods on the Front Range, too. We know it isn't because of cold temperatures. So why is it happening?
Sure. So in the case of the aspen and neighborhood trees, the answer is ultimately stress. And that's essentially the tree playing sort of a game of insurance or hedging its bets with its photosynthetic machinery. Drought stress in particular is likely responsible for what we're seeing with aspen trees in the mountains. It was a dry spring, fairly dry summer, and high temperatures all combined to make the trees realize, if you will, that they are not producing as much food as the expense of maintaining those leaves. And so the trees start to mobilize as many of the nutrients as they can out of those leaves, just like they would for fall, in order to try to protect themselves for next year. So let's get as much as we can out of here before we drop these leaves because of drought stress. Here, when we had drought stress combined with shortening day length, we have an early onset of fall color.
It almost sounds like it's trying to conserve its energy.
That's one way you could think about it. Yep.
You mentioned the trees being stressed as part of the reason they're changing colors early. How much does drought factor in as a source of that stress?
Certainly in much of the western United States and in Colorado, water stress or drought stress is one of the primary, if not the primary stressors, generally speaking, for trees. Water is a scarce commodity here. And then when you have a dry year and a hot year, those plants that are used to whatever water they get, getting less does cause stress for the plant. Now, 1 or 2 hot days is not going to incite early fall color. It's not about acute stress. It's about chronic stress, long-term water shortage or heat that is going to trigger the tree to start these resource reclamation efforts.
John, does the early onset of fall colors cause any long-term damage or hardship for the trees?
While it causes short-term shortage of resources, as long as conditions return to more optimum next year, there shouldn't be any long-term effect on the trees. It's multiple years of stressful conditions that would be a big problem.
Let's say climate change continues to create hotter, drier summers. Could we see the fall colors starting to come even earlier in the future, like in the middle of summer?
It would take quite a while for that to happen. And because of the speed of evolution of having those trees go dormant so soon, combined with warm temperatures and needing to make it longer, I don't know if the trees would successfully adjust that far rather than just going locally extinct and moving to new places. We might see then more drought-tolerant genotypes moving in to take their place. So ultimately, we should hope for better rain and snowpack next year.
I know you are a horticulture specialist, John, and not a tourism expert, but how do you see this impacting people who like to drive through the mountains and enjoy the scenery?
Best case, it seems to me, is to pay attention to what's happening with the leaves so that you can plan your trip on the correct weekend to get up there to actually see the colors.
Yeah.
We do see within the state some of that variation in latitude. So the northern part of the state changes color before the southern end of the state. So if you've already booked your trip, you might just be going further south to see the same show that you would have seen further north.
I'm wondering now if it'll even be a good year for leaf peeping. I mean, does the early start mean the colors will be washed out and faded looking?
Because this dormancy is being triggered at least partly by stress, if not entirely by stress at this time of year, the leaf color is not quite the same. So you are still seeing the color of dormancy, but it is, I suppose, maybe a more fatigued color would be a way to describe it, because again, the tree is trying to get what it can resource-wise out of the leaves. And so the leaf change could be quicker than it would be in a nice, prolonged, coolish fall. And the colors could also be less vibrant, just as those leaves are showing signs of heat stress, not just fall color.
John, does this trend worry you?
1 year of heat stress is not necessarily cause for alarm. Multiple years of high temperatures and drought and heat could begin to cause population level changes of the forest. With so much that we don't know about how climate could change, and with all of the other factors that are at play, including winter low temperatures, coming out of spring dormancy, it's really hard to predict what forests of the future might look like. But I think one bad year is not cause for alarm.
John Murgel is a horticulture specialist with CSU Extension. He says this marks the earliest aspen leaves have changed color since 2002 and 2003, both famously bad years for drought. We'll include links to more information, including a map that shows when and where the fall colors should be at their peak across Colorado, in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening. I don't even want to think about pumpkin spice lattes yet. I'm just saying.
I mean, they'll be any moment, right? It's